Take me to another place where the fairy tales don't end. Magical, magical land, magical, magical land. To another place where the fairy tales don't end. Magical, magical land.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Connecteurs Innovation Show, where I meet with people to connect the dots of innovation. My name is Jens Heitland and I'm the founder of Heitland Innovation. I empower entrepreneurs to connect the dots of innovation. So if you're interested to learn more about what's going on in the world of connecting the dots of innovation, please follow me on all social media and share, of course, this video if you like it. Today, I have an exponential thinker and an innovator from space with me and a good friend. Please welcome Patty Rangel to the show. Hello, Patty. I've never used your last name.
Thank you. Hi, how you doing? I know. How are you? Thank you for having me on your show. Yes, I'm Patty, and in some circles known as Peppermint Patty, but it depends. How are you?
All good.
So, Innovator. I love your sweatshirt.
Tell us a bit about yourself. Yeah, tell us a bit
about
yourself.
Myself. First of all, I'm a storyteller, everyone. So most of my my conversation with Jens will be based on stories, and I figure that by sharing my story, many of you will be able to take whatever it is that you feel resonates with you. And so in the storytelling time, I come from a background that's theater and entertainment. I went to Cal Arts, which is the Juilliard of the West Coast in the United States. And I got my master's in theater producing. And while I was there, I got involved with the process of holography as just like an elective. And that was through the School of Art and Photography. And so I started making holograms as a hobby, which eventually turned into my career for a while in technology. And I ended up working with the Musion holographic system and was part of talking with Dr. Dre about bringing Tupac back to life at Coachella using holographic projection. So that was pretty epic. And a lot of my life story, it ends up like that. I'm just a creative with a background in communications and ended up in the world of technology and entrepreneurship. In 2011, I was selected to join the Singularity University at NASA GSP program, and that was based on a lot of the holographic and avatar work I was doing that started off as a hobby and again ended up turning into a career. And I met some extraordinary people there, including a person named Monica Ebert, who is like a little sister to me, and she had aspiring dreams of working with NASA and becoming an astronaut. And lo and behold, our relationship after many years led to us working together and writing papers for space education that we presented at the International Astronautical Congress. And that is basically like the Olympics of the space industry world. And so my galaxies and my orbits intertwine, and it's really interesting because it is possible to embed the arts into STEM to make it STEAM. That's a little bit about
That's
me.
A start.
And I met and I met Jens at a castle in Poland, where it was like a Harry Potter experience, and he was the prefect of the school, and it was entrepreneurs from all around the world. If you like Burning Man or any of those super artistic counterculture festivals, you would love the College of Extraordinary Experiences.
Absolutely, yeah. We have had a fun week there together. I remember that.
Fantastic.
So going towards innovation, what does innovation mean to you?
Innovation to me means having the freedom to create whatever it is that you feel passionate about. And to be able to ideate and rapid prototype it and to do it together with other like-minded individuals. Innovation is when somebody tells you, no, it can't be done, or that's impossible, you turn around and with the innovation attitude, you say, watch me do it. And because of that attitude is why we've, progressed to where we are in humanity. We've landed on the moon. We're getting ready to go to Mars. Elon Musk is talking about the BFR, which he termed the big fucking rocket. And the big fucking rocket is going to take us to Mars. But it takes having that kind of innovation and exponential type of mindset to be able to create something new, even if it doesn't exist, even if everybody's telling you that it can't be done or it's impossible.
So what are the things where you would say that's where humanity struggles most with on innovation topics?
Oh, I've spent a career dealing with corporate and with glass ceilings and trying to understand and wrap my mind around what it is that becomes the challenge in these type of innovation situations. And it's mostly due to what a mentor of mine, Tom Chi, he used to work with Google X. He headed an entire program called Rapid Prototype Thinking. And it comes down to everybody's got great ideas. Innovating is not that hard. We were born innovators. When we go out and play as kids and we say, we want to build a fort, we want to create this, you're using your imagination. And as you get older and you go through school and you become impacted by, just society and culture and your family and everybody else's ideas, you seem to dim down that creative aspect of yourself. And you stop playing. And so when you go into corporate, any type of corporate environment, you also have to confront the biases, right? Whether it's mostly biases surrounding power dynamics. So everybody just used to thinking that if I want to be successful and I want to make money, I just have to, shut up, listen, say yes, go according to what everybody, the big boss is saying. And you will not innovate in that way. And you can't innovate as a whole. Like if we think about the all-star team is like the Knights of the Round Table, King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table, everybody's equal. The knights and the king, you sit at the table and you create and you go and do something that you truly believe in. And in order to make that happen successfully, you can't have a hierarchy of dynamics that depends on one idea being able to even be discussed because it needs to be approved by somebody higher up. So those power dynamics are what gets in the way. Also, biases against gender, against sexual orientation and preference, against age. How many times do we, you got the baby boomers that are saying like, well, I don't know about these millennials or the Gen Zs coming up with great ideas. They're kids, and, not giving them the space to showcase their ideas, to present it and to evolve that. I think it is the biases that we need to address as a whole, and that we need to keep in mind in regards to everybody joining the table on an equal basis to make it succeed.
Yeah, 100% agree. How do you see that from your personal perspective? So what are the things you struggle most with when it comes to innovation?
Being a woman and being a minority woman has always been an issue. I mean, unfortunately, it is what it is, whether it's culture or whatever country you happen to be in. The dynamics of being a woman and working with men, especially men in positions of power, sometimes pigeonholed me into, being seen as a secretary. So I've been to meetings where my ideas were being discussed and my presentations were being looked at, and then people would turn around and treat me as if I was a secretary. And so that has changed and evolved slowly over time, thanks to technology and a lot of younger generations stepping up to the plate and showing that it can be done. But also is the fighting the biases of education, right? So my education background is in theater producing, and how I got into space is a story. And so I'm not an engineer. I'm not an astrophysicist. I literally just like having conversations with people, and it's wonderful when you can have organic conversations that with people that you can build relationships with. Without thinking like, what can I benefit from this, and who are they, and are they famous? And so this girl, Monica Ebert, that went to Singularity with me, she eventually ended up becoming a space radiation scientist and did some work with NASA. So she came to visit me randomly. We went down to the beach house in Mexico, and we were hanging out having some tequila. And she started asking me about we were hanging out having some tequila, and she asked me what I thought about some of her ideas about going to space and colonizing and exploration. And so, having grown up with Star Wars and Star Trek, and always wanting to be an astronaut, just didn't get the degrees and go in that path. I just started telling her, like, I think we can do this. I think we can do that. I have ideas for magnetic propulsion. We can do simulation-based learning. And I mean, literally, it was like a tequila-infused conversation where you're not thinking it will ever go anywhere. And so Monica leaves, the mini vacation. And like 2 weeks later, she sends me an email. And she says, Patty, I created an abstract on that conversation that we had, and I submitted it to the International Astronautical Congress, and it was accepted. And so you have, I forgot the X number of months to come up with the paper, which then you're going to have to go to Australia to present to all the space agencies on the planet. And I literally was like, on the verge of tears. Like, I could not believe this was happening. And I said, you did what? And she said, don't worry, like, I'll help you through it. If you have any questions, just let me know. So the fact that somebody gave me an opportunity to do something that I myself had convinced, myself that wasn't possible. And it happened because she believed in me. She listened to me. She was in a place to leverage that opportunity for me and my career. And so sure enough, we ended up going to Australia. And here we are, you got like Elon Musk presenting on one stage, and the United Nations Office of Outer Space Affairs, and all of the space agencies of the planet. And the energy that was happening in Australia was amazing. It's like, under this roof, all of these agencies just, I get emotional thinking about it. They see themselves as like one, as like, we are one planet, and we are going to get outside, and we're going to explore, and we're going to go and do this together. And it was so beautiful to experience that. And I was so grateful that because of her and that opportunity, I ended up writing a paper for space education. And then it evolved, right? So then the following year, I thought, well, why not, try it again? And this time get my author credits, right? So I was an author for Australia, and I thought, now I can do this and then pay it forward and do the same to somebody else. So the process that I took with Monica, what she taught me, I extended it to Paul Valencia of College of Extraordinary Experiences. Because he had, he's got crazy ideas, but he's doing event production in the castle with entrepreneurs. And I was like, hey, brother, how about we do an exchange? Like, have you ever thought about going to space? And he's like, well, not really.
Not today.
So I invite, not today, or, I don't think that he had thought on that level. And so we decided to collaborate on a paper. And we ended up presenting at IAC in Germany the following year. And that's why I ended up at the College of Extraordinary Experiences to meet up with him and then go on this epic road trip to Germany. But at the same time, I was so deeply impacted by the college experience, because there we didn't have any technology. We're not discussing getting off of the planet, but just the idea of meeting people in a non-corporate type of environment. We're all living in this castle. We're all just co-creating our own like workshops and inviting people, and nobody knew the titles of anybody else. So there wasn't that like level of pretentiousness or networking, or, you know, you got to go and talk to this person in order to create business after the opportunity. And so I've noticed throughout my personal experience that successful entrepreneurship tends to thrive in those environments where you get rid of the titles and you get rid of the traditional business dynamics. So that's been a bit of my journey into the space industry world, coming from, you know, a theater background, but it's been extraordinary. And I really just want to share that with the world so that whoever's out there thinking about crazy projects, no matter what it is, you give everybody an equal chance, an equal voice, and put yourself in these conversations that allow others who might be able to, you know, hand up to rise, help you rise, to create those opportunities.
Yeah, and that's what I see a lot. The people who are really going into innovation, thriving in innovation, have completely different backgrounds. So it's like myself, I'm an electrical engineer. I started on construction sites, which most of the people don't know. Even you didn't know. So it's like, how the hell can he be an innovator in that field and helping companies to innovate and such? It's exactly, I think sometimes it needs to have a different perspective to be able to do things in a different way, which helps you to bring things forward and help things to elevate and help things to accelerate going forward. Yeah. So
a multidisciplinary approach is key to every team. And the reason is because, you know, sometimes if you want to stand in the threshold of innovation, you might need that perspective, those things that you didn't know about, wasn't in your level of expertise. You need that type of input coming in to be able to process it.
I would like to zoom in more on innovation again. What did you, as a person, Perry, learn recently while innovating?
Oh, it is hard. It is time consuming, but it's worth it. You know, it takes just as much time to convince yourself to be in a routine, to take the safe route, as it does to take the same amount of time and apply it to something that you love and to make it happen. And so one of the things that have deeply impacted my innovative process is to stop doubting myself, you know, and to stop listening to the naysayers and to the people that tell me that, you know, oh, that's impossible, or you can't make it, or you need to focus on this and you need to focus on that. I like to think of my glass being half full. And so the people that are able to help fill that glass and to say, you know what, that's a crazy idea. That might be a batshit crazy idea, but why not? Like, how can we make it happen? And what ideas do you have? Another thing I've realized is that innovation doesn't take a lot of money, not right up front. You know, if you're rapid prototyping, you can go rapid prototype with art tools or things that you have around yourself, and just to kind of create the idea. And then if you have friends that are like-minded and like to play, they can come in and say, well, actually, like, you know, the physics of this would work this way, or, you know, the mathematical way to make that happen, you know. So that's something that I continue to remind myself of, is to have that fresh perspective and not doubt it. If I want to make something happen, I literally just plant the seed, and every day, little by little, like you said with this podcast, right? You give yourself a challenge. Oh, I'm just going to create one video every day and I'm going to launch it, and let's just see what happens. And it's okay if you don't know what that end result is going to be. You know, you don't know what a year from now, what this is going to turn into, what other opportunities might come in because of your process. But at least you're doing it because, you know, you have an inquisitive mind. So never stop asking yourself, you know, the questions that help you move forward.
Yeah, 100% agree. Moving to a different topic. So I have always a question which is explain the pig or piece. Like I have looked into your social accounts and found a picture. And that's a picture of a group, and it was in a group of posts which was around a holodome. I have no idea what that is, so you need to explain that. And it's a group of people where you're in the middle, sitting or kneeling there, and it looks like you're having fun, whatever that is. Can you tell the story? If you remember that picture.
Oh my goodness, holodome. Of course I do. That was like one of the most epic moments of my graduate school. So like I said, I went to Cal Arts for theater producing, and I ended up taking holograms. And so I just fell in love with the art form. And I wanted to showcase my artwork in a way that was innovative. And so I went to Burning Man, to the Burning Man Festival out in the Nevada desert, and I saw these domes. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool to have a mobile museum that looks like a dome? And so I came back and I pitched it to the School of Theater, and they were like shocked, like, no way. I mean, you know, we are like ranked #1, you know, school in the nation for this and this and this. You got to do a theater play. And I said, you know, when you guys gave me my scholarship, you didn't specify what my master's thesis had to be, and you didn't specify what art form it was. So I am going to use the elements of design of the theater world in creating this holodome art installation. And because I was the student council president and met students from all of the different schools, like the School of Music, the School of Dance, animation, you name it, I had a lot of people supporting me. So holodome as a project became the biggest collaboration in CalArts history. And everybody did it for free. And I got all of the deans of the different schools at CalArts to donate money. So I fundraised like $15,000 to make it happen. We bought a dome. I brought in a technical director from the School of Theater, and he built inside of the holodome. It was like these pedestals with lights that because each hologram requires a direct light source. So I worked with Professor William Auschler, who was my holography teacher, to be able to make the holograms, invited him to exhibit with me, and a fellow holographer, Eric Leiser, who was also from the School of Theater. And we used original music composition. So it felt like you stepped into a spaceship. You know, you walked into this dome and it was this crazy space sounds, and you're looking at 3D holograms coming out at you. And then I figured if we put that in the main gallery of the CalArts, California Institute of the Arts, right in the main gallery, we can make it a big party. And so then the collaborations continued, right? So then I had a friend named Richard Stadler, who was in the School of Music, and he said, well, I've been talking to some animators, and we want to do projections on the outside, on the holodome, and all around the main gallery. And at that point, I was like, sure, why not? Like, make it happen. And then I had some other people that would, once the word got out that we were doing something cool that the school didn't even know what to make of, everybody started coming out of the woodworks. I mean, animators, fine artists. They were like, where can we exhibit? The dancers came out. The dancers said, well, we heard that you're making like 7 animation pieces that are about colors that relate to the colors of the holograms. We'd like to actually do a dance choreography around the dome on this exhibit. And I said, oh, sure, why not? So at that point, my response was, sure, why not? Go try it out. Let's see what happens. And at the end, I mean, what they came up with was beyond anything I could have ever imagined. And it was like mind blowing. It was extraordinary. I mean, it was the like multidisciplinary art at its best. And And like I said, the School of Theater didn't know what to make of it because I literally was exhibiting an art installation using all of the elements of design for theater. And then after Cal Arts, I went to San Diego, and I went to the Space Museum, and just, being like a cocky kid straight out of school, thinking anything is possible, I walked in and I was like, I'd like to speak with your curator. And they're like, well, who are you? I said, well, tell him Patty Rangel is here. So he had to come down to see who the cocky kid was that was just demanding, to speak with him. And he literally came up to me and he's like, and who are you? And I said, just step outside this door and look at this plate, because the best way to see a hologram is with the light of the sun. And it was really bright outside. And he said, okay. So he goes outside, he looks at the hologram and he's like, wow. And I said, yes. And I have an entire, installation called Holodome that we can exhibit in your museum, right? So I have no experience, none, in the art, like exhibiting in the art world for, museums or whatnot. And so I just walked in and he looked at it and he's like, well, how big is it? I told him, gave him the dimensions. How long does it take to build? Oh, I got a team of 10 people. We can build it in 4 hours. And he's like, all right. So he walks me to the lobby right in front of the theater where they do all of the big, I forgot what those films are called, that they look like 360 degrees or 180. But so this is a big theater. And he walks me right in front of the theater and he says, can you put it right there? And I said, yes. He's like, can you build it next week? And I'm like, yes. So I always said yes. And he's like, all right, hi, you got yourself an exhibition for the next 3 months. So coming straight out of Cal Arts, we built Holodome at the Space and Science Museum, the Reuben H. Fleet in San Diego, which was epic because everybody I knew in the art world in San Diego was like, how did you make that happen? And I said, because I never saw the barriers. I just thought all I have to do is have an idea, go and talk to somebody that, might listen and, convince them of how I can set this up, and it would be fantastic. So yeah, Holodome, it has a special place in my heart because it was so many people that helped to make it happen. And I mean, until this day, we're talking about building Holodome in the Second Life virtual world and having a big party where we invite everybody to dance around with their avatars and, show their work. So it's fun. It's fun.
I'm so glad to have picked that photo. I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
What did you learn out of that development and out of that experience for yourself?
That I am a producer. that it didn't really require me having any particular type of degree or certificate or getting anybody's blessing to go and make it happen. That I had this crazy idea. I talked to other people that had the crazy idea with me and said, sure, let's do it. And after that, I mean, it literally was not being scared to talk to people had a huge result, because when I went to ask for money because eventually you get to the point where you're like, okay, we want to build the dome, we know how to make it, and how do we actually build it? And so you got to go ask for money. And I didn't have big fundraising experience, right? But I thought, well, asking for $5 or $5 million is the same process. And that's something one of my mentors taught me. And so I made appointments with the deans of every school, and I had my little presentation, and I literally just walked in and thanked them and showed them what I had and told them and all it takes is a contribution for your discretionary fund, towards making this happen. And I'm working with all of these students from your school. And much to my surprise, I thought everybody was going to say no to me. And actually everybody said yes. So I don't think there was one person I approached about Holodome that said no. And so you have to get over the fear of asking, and you have to get over the fear of thinking that nobody will support it, because you never know. I mean, you might end up getting your projects funded.
Yeah, that's awesome. Sorry, my little one is, is
No
crying
problem.
in the background. That's when it is live. So
No problem.
If you would have the chance that you could create something innovative that everyone in the world could experience, what would it be and why?
That's on the topic of what I want to write for the International Astronautical Congress for 2022 in Paris. And if I make this happen, you're all invited to meet up with me there, and then we'll just road trip over to the castle to see Prefect Jens there. But I would love to create an experience that is a virtual reality, immersive in a multiplayer gaming world where we can join in and co-create what that base is going to look like on Mars. What's life going to look like on Mars if we go for exploration, or if we start, actually building colonies on another planet. And the beauty about simulation-based learning is that with, exponential technology, you have speed, you have the ability to integrate these worlds and these technologies in a way that wasn't possible before. So for visualization, to be able to create the journey from Earth to the moon, fuel up at the moon, and then you take off to Mars, and then you build on Mars, to go through that is actually training to be able to incorporate like physics engines and pro-engineer data and put it in a simulation, and to walk around it and experience it from the inside out in a way that's not possible in real life. And to do it collectively with people from around the world, I think would be something worth exploring, something that would unite people across borders and language barriers and cultural barriers. Hold on, somebody's knocking on my door. I'll be right back. Give me a second. I'm back.
Good.
All right, so where were we?
So next question is like, where will you be in a year from now? What would you imagine?
In a year from now, I'll definitely be writing a lot, probably getting ready to submit my paper to the IAC. This whole experience into the space industry is something that is new to me. Collaborators and more people that want to partake in it. So one thing is to write about the ideas. I reached out. It's another crazy idea. So I reached out to Ben Goetzel. So he's the Sophia. Have you heard about Sophia? She's the cyborg robot that got citizenship in the UAE.
No, I haven't.
Okay.
Tell me about it.
I have to send you a video. So it's basically artificial intelligence with a robot, and she has really good facial features. Amazing. So I think it was maybe like 2 years ago, Sophia got citizenship in the UAE. And I think it was UAE or Saudi Arabia. And so I met her creator, who is a PhD and, amazing futurist. So I met him at Google back in 2011, and we coincided in being part of the Millennium Project Cybernode. And so I asked him if he would like to be my co-author for the next paper that I submit to the IAC. And he said, sure, that'd be fantastic. And so I have this idea that, since biological bodies have a lot of problems going to space, what would the future be like if we could actually, maybe evolve into space astronauts that are robots? And so there's a movement called the 2045 Initiative. They launched a long time ago, but they believe that, if you get to the end of your life and the technology is there, you might be able to upload, your memories or your consciousness or whatnot into a robotic body. But I feel that if we were to explore space beyond Mars, we're going to need to modify our bodies to something that is, a lot friendlier with space radiation and just being outside of planet Earth. So these ideas are crazy. They're way out there into the future, but exploring it in a like sci-fi meets IAC mode is interesting and something I'd like to explore moving forward. So I see myself writing a lot about that and seeing how could we actually make that a possibility.
That's awesome. That's such a different world where we live in. It's really cool to see. So you have been speaking a bit about the gender problem and the power problems and so on. So if you would mentor a young person, a young girl or a young boy who is like in school still, what would be the topic you would trying to mentor them most on? There's an issue with the connection, as it looks like. Hello?
I can hear you. Hello, hello.
Yeah, now you're back.
Okay.
Can you hear my question?
No, I heard you teleport back in and say you can hear me.
Okay. So if you would mentor a young person like still in school, girl or boy, doesn't matter, what would be the topic you would like them to grow into, and what would be your way of doing it?
I think that more in regards to developing what it is that they are passionate about would be more of the approach versus the topic. I can take on many different topics. Like I said, I come from a big multidisciplinary background. I've worked the Olympic Games. I've been to NASA. I've done the diplomatic thing. I've been to the United Nations. So it really depends on what everybody's individual talents are. And if somebody came to me and said, I'm like fascinated about motorcycles, I want to, create like these amazing new motorcycles. And I'd say, sure, okay, let's learn about industrial design and, take me through the journey. So I would apply the innovation processes that I've been fortunate enough to be impacted by through my experience at Singularity University, at NASA or Hive, or, call it College of Extraordinary Experiences, and help them develop their vision. And then once that is developed, being able to connect that person within my network to people that might be able to take it to the next step, to the next level, to provide funding, to create it, or maybe end up presenting at a conference. My friend Monica, who was the reason I ended up in the space industry in the first place, she did this to her high school students. So, and when they had an idea about something they wanted to do space related, she submitted an abstract, and they ended up speaking in front of the international community of scientists. And much to their surprise, afterwards, when they were coming up and telling one of her high school students, "Oh, Dr. So-and-so," and she said, "That's not a doctor, that's my high school student." And so that's kind of the impact I want to have in regards to awesome. Mentoring anyone. It's let's build it, make it successful, and blow everybody's mind away, so that when people find out where you're coming from, they'll know that it didn't require a certain kind of degree or position or anything. They're just listening to people.
Yeah. That's a super nice way of ending the podcast. I could go like hours and hours and hours more. But I really appreciate that you took the time and that we managed over the different time zones to meet each other. Yes, going into the last question, where can people find you? How can people reach out to you?
You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm linkedin.com/Patty Rangel, Rangel. I think my website's still up, pattyrangel.com. Or if you're connected to Jens or any crazy goblins through a castle in Poland, there's definitely ways to find me. So thank you so much. Thanks everybody out there. I hope I've entertained you for the last hour. And yes, let's keep the innovation and inspiration going.
Thank you very much, Patty.
Take me to another place where the fairy tales don't end. Magical, magical land, magical, magical land. To another place where the